My name's Jen. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at AppsFlyer, where I work. I think the main goal, I'm always wanting to learn new skills and keep up to date with things. I'm the only CSM in Australia. I do have a team that I work with, but they're remote. But I don't have that sort of day-to-day interaction with other CSMs. So that was one of the things that really stood out to me about RevUp, was that community that you've built and that you're building with the cohorts. The other thing, I think I was very particular about what type of course I was looking for. I consider myself a very revenue-focused CSM, but I don't come from a sales background. And a lot of the times, there's a lot of salesy tactics and things that CSMs in general aren't taught or sort of getting exposure to, so to speak. So I was really looking for a course that was focusing on that commercial aspect side of customer success. I was comfortable with the revenue side of things. I mean that more from a conceptual perspective. So I'm absolutely comfortable with it. So I was comfortable with the concept of selling, and that, my role as a CSM is to sell in value and to sell something to the customer to help them to reach their next milestone. But I think, things like objection handling, for one thing, is something that I wasn't very comfortable with. That was one of the areas in the course that you went into in quite a bit of detail. Often I would jump to just answering the question. A question would come in and I just wanted to answer it. I just wanted to get back to them as quick as I could. But really taking a step back and going, let's ask a question before we jump in and answer it. Let's find out a little bit more about what they're trying to do and what they're looking for. So little things like that. Of course, this term has just been like living rent-free in the back of my head ever since then, but it's the value sandwich. So the how, why, the ROI. And I'll be on calls and I can just hear this how, why, ROI in the back of my head. And I think I would a lot of the time stop at the why. I would sometimes even stop at the how. But now it's going that additional step to really get to the ROI, and not just for the customer's sake, but also for my sake, to validate that what I am attempting to sell into them is actually going to have a positive ROI. I can very confidently talk to that, but also that there is a clear ROI to it and that there is going to be, a benefit from that side as well. Yeah, I love the value sandwich. And I was already doing it a bit, but it was good to get just another viewpoint on it, was the success plans. And, really coming in and having the revenue success plan in particular. So, I was obviously very familiar already with a general success plan of, what are the customers' outcomes that we're looking to hit, what are the milestones we need to hit over the next 6, 12 months, etc. But then breaking that down to that next level and having an actual revenue success plan is something that I've now started to overlay on the top of my general success plan. I'd seen your course, and the first time I'd sort of noticed it, I didn't join that cohort. I held off, and it was purely because of the time difference. And then after just sitting on it for a while and seeing a bit more of your content, I decided, no, I would do it. And look, honestly, it was fine. Like, the funniest thing, it was the highlight of my week to go and, get onto those recordings and get in there. And I felt like by the end of it, which is a bit weird, I knew all of you, but none of you even knew what I looked like. Every week I was watching these recordings and you and the other people in the cohort, and I was really getting to understand their personalities and their roles and who they were working for and their challenges. And yeah, like, I was just this little lip on Slack. I think probably I was more active on Slack for that reason, trying to drum up a little bit of extra interaction, which was great. There's obviously another level of being in those sessions and having that interaction that you're just going to miss out on. But I don't think it definitely didn't devalue the course for me. You were great at just really controlling the room, so to speak, but also just letting people have their time. It was a very respectful environment. The cohort was very diverse of, different levels of CS, different industries, lots of different things. So, but everyone was given their time to, there was sometimes silence, and that was okay. It was all comfortable silence while people were given time to think and respond. I just had my best quarter from a growth perspective. So look, there's probably a number of things that have contributed to my performance this quarter, but one of them is definitely, what I've taken from the academy and applied that to my role. So yeah, I think there's definitely been some tangible outcomes from it. I think, really honing in on that ROI before I even open my mouth with with any sort of suggestions to my customer. And also, as I kind of mentioned already, I touched on just not jumping straight in to the product and the sell, and just taking a moment to really understand more about what it is they're after, what it is they're asking for. A lot of the times they don't know in detail what they're asking for. They kind of have a bit of an idea, but you've really got to dig in and ask, the questions and start to understand the wider picture before being able to really, give that recommendation of things. So I think, just to summarize, focusing on the ROI and focusing on, the value that they're going to get from it before jumping into solving the problem straight away. Honestly, anyone, almost anyone, like I think especially for people earlier in their career or people that are wanting to transition into CS, I think it's just like a silver bullet, like boom, this is how to CS. But then also, I was nearly 5 years into my CS career at the time that I took the course, and I still got value from it. And I think, whether you're an IC, even if you're a team lead, you can get some things from it as well. Like, so honestly, I think almost a very wide range of who it can be good for. But I came out of it thinking, wow, I wish I had either done that course 3-4 years ago if it was available then, or known about it then. That would have been a difference in the way my growth over the last 5 years. Just jump. That's my little mantra that I tell myself whenever I'm procrastinating on anything. So just jump. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You go to it and everything that's in the course. Doubtful. So, you're going to come away with something. And especially as an added bonus is the cohort, the Slack channel, the community that you're building. And just to call out, that Slack channel is not just, you don't just have access to the cohort that you are in, you have access to all of the cohorts. So there's a real community that's starting to build in there, which I think is really awesome. I would say it was, all about building real momentum. It really helped me to step outside of my reactive ways. I was working in a very reactive way prior to the course. I knew it, but I almost couldn't break out of it. Like just dealing directly with customer requests as they come in and not really putting that time aside for me to do what needed to be done to make real impact on the accounts. So it really reinforced the fact that I needed to do that and to help me to grow the accounts.